you guys are on the air with another edition of KOPN Tech Radio. And we have John in the studio.
Hello.
And we have Scott back
Hello,
again.
Everybody.
Hey, Scott. And we have Michael.
Queso esto.
¿Cómo estás?
I'm
bien.
trying. I think I said it's cheese is what I think I just said.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah.
My Spanish is pretty bad, but I'm pretty sure queso is cheese.
Yeah, it is.
Am I on?
No, you're not.
No, so John is just talking into the air over here.
Do the check 1 2.
Check 1 2.
Nope. 3 4.
How about now?
There we go.
There we go. I felt disconnected from myself.
He's just talking into nothing. Like talking into your own pillow.
Or I could have just started yelling. Then I got to
You know, I was like, oh, I hear John, so it must be good.
Yeah. We pay a lot of attention to our technology here on Tech Talk Radio.
Yeah. We're all in.
Well, we do have some sweet tech. We have that 360 camera. I mean,
It's true.
We do.
It is very sweet.
Yeah, we jumped up to 19 views last week.
Whoa.
Yeah,
We're in the big leagues now.
Man.
Dude, I ran
many of
around
those
to
were
everyone
us?
showing them off. I'm like, check it out, check it
I think
out.
I was one.
Yeah.
How many were the 4 people in this room looking at themselves?
We got to subtract those 4.
Refresh.
So at least 15 people stared at us talking into large.
Now, when does
Black
YouTube
blobs,
count a
those
view?
Hmm?
At second number 10, or when is it a view?
I think it's when it starts. I think it's like as long as it shows something.
Yeah, I don't know what the thresholds are. In fact, I believe YouTube has gone out of their way to not say what they are.
What a view
That way you
means.
can't game it.
Yeah, they don't want people gaming things. They also, as far as rankings go, determining how much they want to promote your video when people are looking for videos to look at. The AIs, they're very secretive about that, but they have been open more recently that it's based on, a couple of years ago they switched to number of minutes viewed rather than number of views.
Yeah, it's view time, not
View
number.
time. But very recently, within the last few months, and this has been very controversial on YouTube, they're now switching to return rates for views. In other words, if people come back the next day to watch your next video, your rankings go way up real fast. Problem, of course, is that means you have to produce a video every day.
Yeah.
So we are, in fact, doomed.
That's not a problem for us here on Tech Radio, though, right? We produce one every week. Should be good.
Well, that's not a return rate for the next day, though.
That's true.
Our
But
next
on the
day
other
return
hand,
rate is very bad.
Maybe they're so excited about us, they watch us just over and over.
Over and over
7
again.
days.
So what you'll need to do now,
The
John,
360 excitement.
is split all the videos up into 10-minute segments and publish them every day.
Spread it out. That way,
Genius.
as the week goes along, you get more news and older, out-of-date news.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Plus, you get to, hype up the next section, right? In our next section, we talk about...
We're going to need a countdown
the
timer.
next thing.
Yeah, that laps every 10 minutes, Okay, and episode 1 done. And welcome to episode 2.
Be discombobulating for our radio listeners, but, it's all good. All right.
There we go. So, if you want, I'll start this off with free money.
Sure.
Everybody loves
That
it.
sounds like radio.
Bitcoin.
Free money.
Nope.
But you got to be in Finland and out of a job.
Oh.
This is about UBI, Universal Basic Income. We've talked about this on the show at least 6-9 months ago. Finland voted for a experiment in universal basic income. The idea is that you get a certain amount of money from the government no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It's yours. You can do anything you want. You can be a billionaire, you could be homeless, it doesn't matter. You get the same amount of money no matter what. Now theirs is a variant on that. The UBI is only available if you're currently at the end of this year jobless.
Okay.
But you can get a job and they won't take away your UBI. Because the idea is that it removes the fear factor of trying something experimental, like getting a new job, driving Uber or something, or doing something else. So you're free to make decisions that will improve your life, without fearing that somehow your benefits will be taken away.
So you have 2 weeks to quit your job.
Yeah. 2 weeks to quit your job to get some free money. It's not very much money, I think Oscar's looking at.
Because it's basic.
It was very basic. In fact, it came out to like
So
a little
cost
over
of living kind of job.
about
money.
$550 a month in U.S. dollars.
Okay.
So you're not going to be rich.
Yeah, but depending on where you live, that might be
It might be enough to get an apartment and some ramen.
Some frozen water and a caribou snack bar.
That's it. It is Finland.
Yeah. I mean, how many hunters do they have in Finland? That's what you got to ask.
Yeah.
Well,
So
get the phone book and go to the letter H. And
so they'll be doing this as a 2-year experiment. I mean, there's 2 flaws with the program. One being that they're not doing it for everybody. Ideally, they would have randomly chosen 2,000
other people.
people, whether they had a job or not. But that's okay. That's a limited.
Trying to do a double-blind study here where the people choose things. They don't know who's getting the money and who's just getting a blank check.
Well, it would have had to have been some random setup. Yes, to do a true test of how this would affect human behavior, because that's the big question. Will people become
lazy sloths, as most people predict, or will they really use their time for things like doing productive things that they actually enjoy?
The tech side of this is how to calculate all that, right?
The tech side of this is that automation and AI are killing jobs as fast as we can create them. So some people are looking at alternative ways.
Right. The doom and gloom crowd are going, well, you know what? If we have UBI, then we don't have to worry about AI taking all the jobs.
As long as it's not inflationary.
It's not just AI, it's automation, too. I mean, a lot of...
Right.
Yeah.
It's all connected. The robots, as they would say.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what people used to always say, but didn't realize that what the robots were missing were brains. And that's where the AIs come in. Now you have mechanical bodies with mechanical brains that are actually smart enough to get things done. I say that prematurely because, like I was talking to that guy before the show, we still don't have general AIs. They're all still really narrow.
We're nowhere close to a lot of those general purpose.
No.
So this is not a experiment they have to do rapidly. So, the second problem with their experiment, and I don't know why they didn't go further than this because it's only 2,000 people, is 2 years is not a safety net.
No.
They needed to say for the next 40 years, these 2,000 randomly chosen people will get this money guaranteed no matter what.
I bet you that was a funding issue.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you really want to know what's the long-term impact on human behavior and life, do people become more miserable or become happier? Do they what's the upside and downside of this?
Is that really the question they're trying to answer, or are they trying to answer just a more directed policy question, like, can we have an overall healthier populace that doesn't cost us more in government wages if we just give them money to take care of themselves?
Right. Well, I think their restriction to jobless was a practical matter, because essentially this is replacing some of their other benefits they were getting.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So
unemployment insurance.
Unemployment insurance, right. So this would basically be a paperwork-free thing. You just get a check. So that should be like $2 in overhead. As opposed to having a account and a manager for you.
But think of the overhead of dealing with people who have no money, right? I mean, I know they have national health insurance in Finland, but still, they have to somehow keep track of those people and figure out what they do when they show up.
They've actually done this
frozen to death on the streets, right?
They've done a similar experiment in Canada, where it was a whole town, and everyone in that town, they said, okay, no benefits, but you guys get, I think, some amount, and it wasn't a lot either. I mean, it was something like $500 or $700 a month. And they saw what people did. And what they noticed is that overall well-being in that town for that duration was better. So, grandparents that used to work stopped working and would watch the grandchildren, while the parents would go out and go to work or go to school or do all these other things. So it is...
Yeah, there have been some past trials on this type of thing, and they were always mixed results.
Yes.
And I suspect that's what's going to happen with Finland, too. They're going to come back and go, it's all these things.
Humans are weird. But I mean, it's not all that unusual. I mean, Saudi Arabia gives a share of its oil revenues to every citizen, so it's not like the government giving you chunks of money is all that.
Yeah. Well, they give it to people that are wealthy as well? Does everyone get it?
Everybody gets a share.
Everyone gets it.
Everyone gets it.
So
okay.
Saudi Arabia has, as a sovereign country, purchased an entire floor of Massachusetts General Hospital for Saudi Arabian citizens who need to come over to the States for medical care. They just own that floor.
Really?
And, they pay for the operation of it and everything.
It's good to have oil money.
Yeah. In other words, Saudi Arabia is rich. That's the moral of that story.
But, So, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Lots of people will be watching it, that kind of stuff.
So people have been asking about call-in shows, so I'm just going to give this out again. If you want to call in, I'll try to watch the light. This is new, so if you want to call in at 573-443-8255. And we will try to answer your phone calls.
There's no guarantee of entry.
The show is entirely scripted, so there's no ad hoc behavior at all. So, we'll see. So I have kind of a short, quick story, I think. So I saw in the news today, actually, that a Spanish city installed a 3D printed bridge.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they 3D
Really?
printed it's a pedestrian walkway over like a little canal. They 3D printed it out of concrete.
Cool.
That's
Okay.
just sort of an experiment.
That
Wow.
was going to be my
Did
question.
they 3D print it in place, or did they 3D print it somewhere else and then move it there?
Well, the article says it was like 8 interlocking pieces.
Okay,
And
okay.
so they 3D printed the pieces,
and brought them over.
assembled the pieces by hand.
That's
on
cool.
site,
Yeah.
Which is still pretty, I mean, I
It's
didn't even
happening.
really know 3D printers could do concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that done.
It's pretty thick, it's a special mix of concrete, and
Right.
it's not very attractive. I mean,
And it's a special printer,
yeah.
because the printer you have determines what it can print.
It's mostly
Right.
just a nozzle that prints goo
Yeah,
and
it's
layers.
a computer-controlled funnel, basically, right?
Yeah,
You just
yeah,
score
like
paint
a
and
like a
stuff through the
cake
funnel.
decorator.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
one of the early uses of 3D printing technology was, in fact, cakes.
And so the sides,
Wow.
the sides look very
I'm not
bumpy.
joking. That's a huge thing right now.
Oh yeah.
Automated cake decorating. That's
Yeah, it did the
alright.
icing on the top.
My daughter did
You
something
could put
similar.
you put a photograph into the thing, and it would actually do a photograph in icing.
Oh sure.
Yeah, and you can eat it.
Oh,
My
yeah.
daughter did something over the weekend where she melted wax and drew it up with a syringe and was printing little layers of candles in the little colors and stuff. I said, this is basically the same thing as 3D printing, but you're just using a syringe.
And she was doing it by hand.
Yeah, she was doing it by hand, but that's
Very
the same
slowly.
function, because it was near, she drew it in the syringe and then it was almost solidified at that point. So she
So
had.
if you
kind
could
of
get more kids, you'd have a business out of that.
Yeah, just get them started on the assembly line. Problem solved.
Move them to China first, though.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
You don't want to pay that. You don't want to pay the labor.
Yeah, we won't get feedback on that comment.
But when is the bridge going to be put in and stuff?
It's done. They opened it up for traffic this week.
And?
And people walked on it, I guess. I mean, it hasn't fallen
Fair
over.
enough. Oh, okay, yeah. So it's pedestrian
That'd be
bridge. So that's
It's a pedestrian bridge, so it's not like a...
If someone fell and died, that'd be at the top of the story, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Well, we would have all heard about that, probably. So we'd be like, well, all right. Yeah, no, it was built... The big takeaway was apparently it was a lot cheaper to build it because they used the 3D printing. They just had less waste product at the end of it, so that's apparently the big takeaway.
That's true, because it's additive printing rather than subtractive. Although not all 3D stuff is additive, but the stuff you hear about big stories about right now is that way.
If it's subtractive, they usually call them CNCs.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same idea. But,
Same thing in reverse, really.
yeah.
Although the new CNC technologies out there, the subtractive technologies are they're pretty cool now too, because they're all like 5-axis machines that spin in all directions and
Yeah.
automatically change tools and
They're more precise than 3D printers. They're
Oh, yeah.
way more expensive. And
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
I've got one in the company I used to own had one. It was a $16,000 device, and it was only good for a 2-foot by 4-foot area for cutting. You can do woods, soft metals, and plastics.
wow.
They couldn't do hard metals though, because it wasn't a metal CNC. It was a mid-range. That's all about the specs. I mean, there's.
Whereas what's a decent range 3D printer going to run?
It depends on what you mean by decent range. You can get them anywhere between $1,200 all the way down to $300. But the ones that you'd see at a prototype shop are going to be like an $8,000 printer.
Yeah, it depends on material, resolution, size.
Yeah.
But if you want just something to tinker with, to play with, you can get one for around $1,000.
Yeah,
That
make
will,
fun.
yeah, it'll cover your basic, everything
It's a
that you would
regular
want to
plastic.
do realistically until you really get into it.
I
and
mean,
then
they're
you would-
marketing the 3D printing pen in the toy store now.
Nothing less than a full injection molder for me, though.
Oh yeah,
That's
there
my
you go.
rules, yeah.
You don't screw around.
But
That's right.
the
You need
latest
a real
gen
deal.
of them
That was an
have
injection
the,
molding joke.
have the pull type where they got a laser that hardens the part as it pulls out of the material. It almost looks magical.
Yeah, those are great with the laser.
Yeah, they'll just pull it out of this pool of plastic and it just forms above it. It's like,
Wow.
It's wild.
And it's fast.
It's fast and it's very high resolution. It makes for a very nice part. But it's a little bit expensive because it's a very unique plastic they're pulling that out of. So it's, whereas you can get some spools of ABS plastic and, I mean, you can get a $400 printer and if you're willing to tweak it a bit,
Yeah.
if you're a tinkerer, you can get them pretty cheap.
And the other thing, too, is, you can do some finishing with 3D printing. So, for example, if you had a lower resolution printer,
Yeah.
and it didn't do everything you want, but you were handy with a Dremel, you could finish it off and get what you wanted with a little bit of work.
Right. They're
You know,
probably, in my
nicks
opinion,
and
their
seams.
biggest flaw right now is that because of the way they perform the additive production, it's got a weakness in one dimension.
Right.
And which is why you don't see people making propellers and stuff out of it, because it'll shear too easily in one direction.
Yeah,
So it depends on what you're making.
that is very true.
Yeah. In fact, you see people trying to make cell phone cases and stuff, and that's actually a very hard thing to do with a 3D printer because
It's gotta be thin, too.
It'll shear in one of the directions in a way that unprotects your phone.
Mhm.
It's hard to explain unless you see it because it's like layer and layer and layer and layers on top of each other
Yeah.
that, like you said, are in one direction. So if it's too thin, then you end up with too many connections and it breaks.
Well, it's more
Yeah.
like, it's a lot like Jenga, right? Like if you push on the top of the Jenga box, it's not really going to move the tower that much. But if you hit it from the side, it's going to fall over really easily.
Kinda, yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
3D printing is like Jenga. We got it on the show.
I have
So,
a pretty quick story.
All right.
Latest review of the countries with the fastest internet on the chart.
Is it still South Korea at the top?
It is still South Korea. In fact, they surpass everybody at an average of 26.3 megabits per second.
I'm not even sure I average that in my home, and I pay up for the fancy.
Yeah, the global average is 6.3 megabits. And the good news is that the U.S. is on the list.
Oh, that's
made
the
it
first
to
By
Wow.
nature that they are a country.
Oh, it's a comprehensive list.
Yeah.
There we go.
But yeah, the top 10 are South Korea, Hong Kong, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, Singapore, Japan, Finland, Netherlands, and Latvia.
Come on, America, we can do better than
Latvia.
Latvia.
At a whopping
A very common
16.9.
thing you're seeing there, though, is that the ones at the top are small countries.
They're smaller countries. They don't
They
have
have-
suburban sprawl, and they have, for the most part, subsidized infrastructure.
Yeah.
Again, though,
Not having
we can
the
do better than Latvia.
sheer volumes of empty land that's affected.
We can beat Latvia, guys. Let's make that a goal.
If you travel 10 miles in any direction from this county, you're going to find more than half the people on either satellite, with lag, or dial-up.
Actually, if you go east,
Well, yeah, you'll get people with fiber,
yeah. If you
but
go
I'm talking
east of-
half.
Yeah. If you go west, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
If you go east of this town, you're in actually very good shape right now.
I'm just saying, but a little bit north,
Not to talk about
between
the
here and
people
Mexico
involved,
and
Yes.
all the rural areas, they're just really tough to connect because of distance.
Well,
And the
yeah,
cost
I'm
of
not going to
distance.
get into that on the show. The financial motivation's there, but the number of players willing to do it, it's such an unsexy
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
weird. I don't know.
So anyway, the U.S. made the list.
a rank. What's a rank?
Oh, somewhere above, Senegal or something. I have no idea.
Okay.
They don't even show it. They don't even
Parts
show
of
it.
Africa worse than us.
Yes.
When that becomes a goal.
Guam. We're better than Guam.
Wait a minute, isn't Guam us?
That's
Sort of.
That's like on Reddit where you'll keep seeing comments like that. Well, at least we're not in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And then somebody responding, I am.
No. Everybody votes in Guam for all of their 0 electoral votes. It's that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So about horrible things.
Mhm.
You guys remember Tay?
Teddy?
Tay, the little Twitter bot that
That became a horrible racist.
That became a horrible
Oh,
racist.
that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That Microsoft release. Microsoft released the version 2, and they've called her Zoe.
Is she
Z-O?
also a
Z-O.
horrible racist now?
She's not a horrible racist because they have explicitly put in protections to prevent that kind of thing from happening again.
That sounds like that's going to be a lot of fun for some people, though, to see what
See
direction
how
she
they
can
can
push her
game
next.
that.
Yeah.
Nuance. It's time for nuance now.
Right now it's invitation only. So you can talk to her over Messenger.
But first you have to prove you're not a racist, probably.
Yeah, but first you have to prove that you're not a racist.
For those not familiar with what these were are bots that took on the character of the people using them.
They
Yeah,
would
they were
watch the
experiments,
speak
right?
patterns of the people. People would talk to them, and they would watch their speech patterns, and they would have all that
Get their
information.
So then you could ask the bot, like, why are these people of certain ethnic background such horrible people? And the bot would reply back, probably because of this trait. Like it would just tell things, and
Yeah.
it became a horrible, because it was a learning bot. So it
Think of it-
basically learned what people told it.
Think of it as a parent who took their 2-year-old to the prison system to learn how to talk.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's not.
There's
not-
a reason why we don't let our kids on Twitter. That's all I'm saying.
It's really not the bot's fault.
No, I mean, although it is kind of
Oh, the
horribly
bots being
predictable to
raised.
some degree, right? Like, you could look at this and go, I know how this experiment's going to end up, and it's not going to end in a good place.
Well, the thing is, they tried this other places. They tried this in Japan. They tried this in China, and it worked out beautifully. People love them, and it's kind of like a little source of entertainment.
Well, I remember AOL used to
I
have
can
those
see
little
it
bots,
working.
remember?
I could see it working in Japan.
They did.
Because of the cultural difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, I didn't.
Because we are free to troll in this country.
Exactly, because we are free to troll.
And we troll to our heart's delight.
That is definitely a freedom that we defend every day in every way, right?
Kind of.
We express that freedom often on the
No one's going to encroach on our freedoms.
Oh, yeah, sure, you would
Terrible
say
human
that.
beings.
See, I just did it.
Speaking of trolling, the feds have finalized a rule. I say feds because this article says feds, but what's that mean? What organization is it specifically?
Well, usually when they say Fed, they're talking about their Federal
What's their
Reserve
rule?
Bank.
Yeah, no. The rule is that starting in 4 years, all cars being produced are required to have a vehicle-to-vehicle wireless network.
I was about to talk, the National Highway Safety Institution.
That's it. Okay.
That's the feds.
This light-hearted story didn't mention technical details, and it certainly doesn't answer what this network will actually talk about. That's all speculation, it seems.
Presumably maybe
There is a
proximity.
standard,
There
actually.
is a standard. Okay.
There is a standard, and it's kind of been in development for years, like 10 years, before 3G was even out.
Okay.
And it is, like you said, a vehicle-to-vehicle communication system.
It's a way for your car to say, "Hey, I'm putting the brakes on" to all the other cars around you.
Exactly.
Now, you might say, "Well, why don't you just look at the brake lights?" Well, yeah, you can do that too.
You don't need the cars in front of you to know.
It's actually easier to get the signal over the radio than it is to look at the lights.
Right. The idea is that
It's less
you,
confusing. There's
you
less
can make-
ambiguity about them.
Exactly. There's less ambiguity.
the idea is that this could be used as a way to to enhance car-to-car communication. It can actually send more things that possibly you wouldn't have that in the brake light system. You might be able to say, "Okay, I'm switching gears," or "I'm about to turn to
Left.
switch lanes," or something like that. And you can provide more information for other cars to listen to.
Of course, the problem with this, as always, is that someone's going to hack this, rewire it, and start being like, I'm going to take a left turn and then take a right turn. And
Actually,
kill somebody.
here's my weird response to this. I hope they do that early, because I don't want cars to be reliant on it. I think they should use it as additional info, but not
Yes.
trust it.
Right.
So getting it hacked nice and early would be good. That way the car manufacturers and the software writers know, okay, this is just like the brake lights. I can put a switch in my desk that turns on the brake lights without pushing the brake.
Yeah.
So if the car's not slowing down, it's just a signal to look for things more, not necessarily that something's really happening.
It's not
I mean,
a
you hope
source
that that's what
source
it
of
is, right?
all being truth.
Right. It's not a source of truth. It's a hint system.
Yeah.
And I can see the usefulness of a hint system. Yeah. And of course, this will be used to track the movement of every car in the United States.
Yay.
Yeah,
Actually,
insurance companies have already been trying to do that for a few years now anyway.
They've been saying, no, you can't do that, but you can do that, I'm sure.
there's two ways that this works.
Okay.
The original, I don't know what to call it, proposition. Let's put it that way. The original proposition was to use shortwave radios, something in the gigahertz range, so that cars could talk to each other and also talk to infrastructure. That's the other part of this, is that
Talk
they
to stoplights.
talk to stoplights, talk to toll bridges, talk to little markers on the road saying where you are.
Talk to the street signs and the billboards.
Yep.
In the grocery stores.
Well, I don't know about the grocery stores. I'm thinking more of like the speed traps.
The speed
But if it's a
traps.
self-driving car at the same time, presumably it would never...
No, this isn't for
Go
self-driving
faster.
cars.
Can't
This
go
is for
faster.
this is for human-driven cars.
Oh, okay.
For both.
It's for both, yeah.
Yes.
It's also meant, because it will be very useful for self-driving cars.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main proposition, right? Is to make,
But
Yeah.
they don't say that, though. I've never heard them say that.
like,
No.
because
So-
if you talk to a human, it's like talking to my Corolla, I don't know what I'm going to do with that.
Well, it'll be
Well,
your
exactly.
Corolla talking to another Corolla, though.
Think about it
So-
like, think about what do they call it? Those assisted driving vehicles where like if the car in front of you brakes, they'll slow down
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
kind of situation. I think that's the idea that they have in mind, is that, the car in front of you brakes, you slow down, or, if it's far enough, I mean, if you have like 500-meter range to where there's a wreck up front, that, your car can give you a 500-meter warning. Oh, there's a wreck up front. Beware. Then you might be able to slow down on the highway instead of not seeing it until the last minute. That's the kind of things that I think they have in mind for this.
Yeah.
For airplanes,
So
airplanes
you
have
said,
this for a
you're
long
saying
time.
there was two versions of this. The first one was,
Well, so they have the protocol. The original proposition was to do this over shortwave radios, similar to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth,
Yeah.
along those lines. But it left the field open for other transport mechanisms. So you could do this, technically you could use 3G. And the first implementation of this is, I think, Audi, or something along those lines. And they use 3G, because when they were originally designing this, 3G didn't exist yet.
Hmm.
So it could end up going over the cell phone networks, which means, back to the whole tracking thing.
back to the tracking, yeah. It would be better, I would think, if they made it more like Wi-Fi, where it really was a local
Distributed network.
distributed network. So you weren't necessarily passing packets from car to car. You were just talking to the nearby cars and the nearby road markers. And
The problem with that I could see is back to the authentication mechanism. Is if I don't have a way to trust whether this signal is coming from a real car or just something, then I could set a laptop up on the side of the road and say, here be accident, and really it's just a clean lane.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Closing roads
think that
yourself,
should how it work. You shouldn't trust the information you're getting.
And I agree with you. I completely agree with you.
Because
I have
if
a
you
sneaking
embrace
suspicion that you will,
if
though.
you embrace the non-trust, you can make it a useful system.
Yeah. There's an accident ahead. Be
Yeah.
warned, but don't trust it until you see it.
I will say, though, in general, software is not good at not trusting signals that it gets. It typically is very trusting of whatever it receives. So, it's kind of a change in mindset. For
You
software
can.
engineers
Like if
to
it
do
saw
that.
a signal for an accident up ahead, it could start the process of putting the brakes on to slow you slightly. But it doesn't push on the brakes to actually prevent the crashing into the accident until it actually sees more data showing, yeah, it's really there.
But there's this
So the mechanism's already engaged, and then they can release the mechanism as soon as it doesn't trust it anymore.
But you can imagine other scenarios, like in heavy, dense traffic, where you're like, okay, 10 feet ahead of me, all of a sudden there's a wreck accident, 10 feet ahead of you. So you better slam on the brakes because you're going, 20 miles an hour, and you're going to wreck in the next half second unless you do something. And then,
Then
forces it to slam on the brake real fast.
But then
Trust it or not.
that's why you ignore it.
Well, you have,
It won't
you have secondary signals in that case, you hope.
It doesn't prevent accidents. It gives you signals how you help prevent accidents, but it doesn't prevent accidents. I think there's also useful statistical data to it.
I just thought, so you have an accident after it gave you some information, and then a little heads-up display comes up on your windshield. I see that you have crashed. Would you like to send a report to Google? Please describe what you were doing before this occurred. And then you got a little space to type in.
This may have been a system bug.
Please send this report to Mozilla. Yeah. You're welcome.
As we all sit and ponder that thought for a few seconds, wonder the end of
The
that.
scary thought.
Yeah, since you've crashed and you've got some time on your hands, would you like to...
Are you conscious?
By the way, Season of Giving is coming up, and I came across a report from Popular Science about gifts to give DIYers. I thought it was a pretty comprehensive, non-commercially list about stuff to give kids or other friends of yours who might be interested in kitting together something or other. And there's gizmos and gadgets and make-your-own computers and origami and maker-bot things and...
A shovel and a soldering iron. That's all you need. You dig up the materials, you fuse it together with your soldering iron.
It's like real-world Minecraft right there, man. That's...
You build your basic tools, and then you use your basic tools to build your more advanced tools.
Yeah. There is
the evolution of humanity, right?
there is in fact a project tree that's being followed by various people on the internet where it's instructions for how to start from nothing. It's literally how to bond the clay together you find in the stream, and you build your first forge, and you actually melt ores, and you do
There
that
you
and
go.
do the next thing. It's actually kind of fun to do. I've had a friend that actually has done part of that process. He
Really?
ended up with some stuff he'd never thought he had. He had an aluminum forge in his garage for a while. It's
Just because you can.
because that was the next step.
Right.
Essentially, it was a bootstrap from nothing system.
Basically, it's a real-life version of the Civ tree.
That's it.
There's a game like that in the browser that's called Alchemy. You can also get the app for it. And it gives you sunlight, water, and air, I think. And then you combine all these things to make other things, including land and dirt and earth and space. Eventually you have so many different combinations you wind up with things like Santa Claus and Batman. But
Well, that's a lot different from like physically grabbing 2 pounds of clay and like adding water.
Yeah.
And ending up with something that you
There's in fact a
I
YouTube
saw a great
series.
YouTube video from a guy who did something similar where all he had was sticks and clay and a loincloth. And
We've seen the same one. He's done a number of different structures and ovens and stuff, but he walks out into the woods with nothing but a camera and a pair of shorts
Yeah.
he's wearing, and that's it. He
And
spends
he
weeks
makes
out there,
tools.
and he starts from nothing. He makes his own flint knives and cuts his own trees down with nothing.
he splits sticks apart, he makes a little frame, he smooths clay into it, then he picks up that into like a clay shingle, he puts it into a little clay oven that he made, he starts a fire, turns it into shingles, makes a roof.
Is this while also hunting for his food?
No.
Or is this like he also has a big
I
stash
don't
of
know
food
how he
staying
got
around?
food and water. I don't remember that part of
He
it.
only
I think this is a 4-hour, 8-hour thing that he does during the day, and then he gets dressed and he goes back home and has dinner. And
Has
then,
dinner with his
Oh
family.
no! He actually spends the weeks out there. And,
Yeah.
really?
What I saw was pretty
He
amazing.
never brings up food. I don't know if that's because he doesn't want to bring that up as a subject on YouTube, or is because he actually does bring a food supply.
Okay.
Or he doesn't want to encourage people to eat things that they may not know what they're doing and poison
I
themselves.
don't know. I mean, this is a YouTube guy building stuff out of literally nothing. I think he'd be like real excited to tell you all the different snake venoms to avoid.
He is oddly enough not talkative,
Yeah, it's
which may explain why he can hang out in the woods alone for 2 weeks.
I mean, the
He's
pieces
not
are
awkward.
coming together in this
He's
story.
not really a communicator so much.
right. But some of these videos are pretty great.
Well, we got some station business we got to
Oh,
take
okay.
care of, so we'll be back in a second.